Hey guys, so this is just going to be a quick update. Hopefully it'll be quick. I don't want this video to be too long. Anyway, what's been going on? Well, first of all, as you know, I've started taking public transportation again just to get, just because I'm working now. So, what's happening is they're following me from the moment I leave until the moment I get home at night. And when I take the bus or the train, what they're doing is they're using strategic positioning in order to box me in, right? To get me to a position where they have me surrounded. And so what happens is I end up with sitting by people who are either going to have a directed conversation referencing things that I said or did in private. Sometimes repeating, almost word for word a conversation I had that very morning. And it's nothing so common that it could have been about anyone or anything. It's very specific. Another thing too, they'll have someone just cough and hack the entire time, knowing that I'm a total germaphobe. And what they're doing is they're actually risking lives by doing that, because people don't know whether or not they don't always know whether they have COVID, right? So if they're coughing and hacking just all over the place, even if they're not sick, they could get other people sick, because you can be a carrier without actually experiencing symptoms. So they're doing that. And two, they're positioning me where no matter where from every angle, someone has a camera pointed at me. So once I was between two people and both of them had their camera facing right at me. Another time, it was a bit crowded in the back of the bus, so I stayed up front, and they had this woman get on the bus with me, and she had been speaking with a thick Russian accent before that, and so she sat down, and I was standing up not too far from her, and she was speaking loudly with her thick Russian accent and looking back at me, and they knew that I was going to move away from that, because now they knew that I was going to move away. And so there was only one other place that I could go to. And so I went back there, and I thought, you know what, though, it's going to be worse back there. And it was. They had someone literally point their camera at me the entire time. And when they're doing that, there's not a damn thing you can do about it. You just, and I hate being watched. They know that. And it makes me want to claw out of my skin. And you have to be calm, and you can't react, because as soon as you react, that's what they want. Then they sit back and say, see how bad he is, see how angry she is, see how violent he is, and how easily provoked. So it's difficult. So that's what's happening. Another thing is too, so I've restarted the Couch to 5K program, because before, I finished it and I got to the point where and they'll have you at the end, where you can jog for 30 minutes straight. And by that point, I could actually jog for 40 minutes straight. Granted, it was inside the apartment. I realized, though, when I tried outside, it was a lot harder, and I couldn't do that. And also, too, I let myself get back out of shape, and I stopped jogging for a while. And so I restarted the program, this time outside. And what they're doing is they're having people follow me, either trail behind me, or they're having them positioned in certain locations so that when I pass them, they'll flip up their phone at me, or they'll give the nose rub or the nose tap. They know that I'm watching for people. I'm looking out for it. So they'll do that. Or it was something else they've been doing as well, and this is pretty clever. So with the Couch to 5K app, they'll give you, halfway through, they'll let you know you're halfway through. So what I had been doing initially is, at the halfway mark, I would turn back around, and I would start running back so that I could finish not too far from where I started. So, right, I had been turning around and going back, backtracking at the halfway mark so I could finish not too far from where I started. But what they would be doing is then they would have someone jogging in the opposite direction, and he or she would pass just for a few seconds before the halfway mark popped up, and I would turn around. Okay, so when I turned around, though, remember the Couch to 5K program it's a walk jog program. So it's not till the very end where you jog or run consistently without stopping. And since I did restart it, I'm still in the walk jog phase. So what would happen was they would have these people running in front of me or jogging slowly in front of me. So when I started jogging again, I could kind of catch up to them. But when I was walking, then I would fall back. And what they would have the people do is continue looking back at me as if I was doing something wrong, as if I was following them, as if they were paranoid or saw me as somehow suspicious. And they kept doing that. And, it made it look like I had turned around just to follow somebody. And these are good actors. These are good actors. They turn around and keep looking back at me as if they're panicking, as if I'm doing something bad. So what I ended up doing was I screwed up. I intentionally screwed up the program again when it said to walk. I would run instead. So I would miss the walking phase on certain parts of the program, and I would run instead to catch up, and then to get ahead of these people, these idiots, right? To get ahead of them so that they couldn't, it didn't look like I was following them, so that it didn't look like, they couldn't keep looking back at me suspiciously. So what that meant was, running or jogging, and actually running when I should have been walking, and, running a bit faster when I should have been taking it slow, because right now I'm trying to get back up to the point where I can once again run, jog for 40 minutes. So right now it's not about speed, it's about endurance. But yeah, no, I ran when I should have walked, and even when I just should have jogged slower, I ran. So just to get ahead of these people so that they couldn't make it seem like I was following them. So in the end, though, it's paying off, because this is a 9-week program, and I've already quickened it, sped it up a bit, because even last time too, you're supposed to do this every other day, right? And I do it every day, so it didn't take the full 9 weeks for me last time, and it wouldn't have this time. But now it also looks like I might not have to go through the entire program again, just because I'm doing this a bit quicker, and I've realized my endurance is, it's increasing quicker than it did the first time. So that's good. So when it comes to this aspect, these little bastards, they think that, they're either trying to hurt me, they're trying to provoke me, they're trying to, interfere with my workout routine, but they're actually, in this case, helping me, because this is going quicker now. It's going quicker because of them. So that's good. Anyway, what's next? Here's what's going on. So most of you know, I've spoken about this before, what happened with the condo. My mom lost her condo years ago. She literally lost everything. She just had to walk away with nothing because of the gang stalking. She lost everything she worked for. It was brutal, and she ended up having to file for bankruptcy, and my uncle got her an attorney, but the attorney turned out to be a total deadbeat, right? He wouldn't return calls. He wouldn't get back to her. He had all her documents, and she was stressing out. She wanted to know what was going on, and, how do you do this, and how do you do that, and what's happening here, and what's happening there. And, I would call him, and he wouldn't get back to me, or I would email him, and he would not respond. And so I had her stressing out, demanding, that this get done. And then, but what could I do? He's not returning the calls, and it's been years. And he not only does he not call back, he hasn't even given her documents back. So I did end up calling my uncle and explaining it to him. But I've done that. This is the second time I have over the years, and nothing comes of it, right? It's so we can't even get her documents back now, and that's what happens when you're a target. You have people who just cut you off cold. There's a job they have to do, and they won't do it. No matter how much they're being paid, they won't do it, right? Their job at that point is to give you a hard time, to make it so that you just can't get done what needs to be done, because you don't have the legal authority to do it on your own, right? Whether it's, a legal matter, or if it's just something that has to be changed in someone's system, like a name change or an address change or something like that, they're not going to do it, right? If all they have to do is press a button to solve the problem, they're not going to do it, right? In some cases, that could mean, years of trouble for you, because they refuse to do one damn simple thing. That's how it is when you're a target. People are going to give you a hard time, and even people who are paid to work for you will not. They will cut you off cold. Right, so what's happening now? It looks like this might be happening again, and I just don't have the energy to go through this again. So I have to deal with my mom's taxes and make sure they get done. And I'm not an accountant. I'm not a tax attorney. My mom has an accountant for that. And last year it was fine. I dropped off her documents with him, and he did them, and it was fine. He was nice about it, and we paid him. Okay, no problem. Well, this year what happened was we didn't get all the documents in the mail that would have been necessary. So, I knew we were going to have to get an extension. I contacted one of the companies and they just, they said they would send it and it never came. But all of the documents have to be in before you can file. So there was literally nothing I could do about it. And they do it on purpose. They do it on purpose. So now they can turn around and say, well, it's my fault because I didn't file on time. I didn't get the documents to the accountant on time, when in fact I didn't have the documents because the people wouldn't send them. Well, what happened was I ended up, what did I do? I took the documents that we did have to the attorney and I dropped them off at his office and what we had. And a few days later, he texted me and, asking for one other document that she had, I had brought to him last year that we didn't bring this year. And what could I do? They didn't send it. But I did, I told him I would get back to him with that. And I contacted this company again, and finally they did send it. It was a week later where I finally had it in my hand. So once I had that document, I texted him back and I said, hey, I have this now. Do you want me to drop it off physically or can I email it to you? Take a picture and email it to you. What do you want me to do? And he said that I could email it to him. So I did that and I thanked him. And, at that point though, something had changed with his demeanor. He was being a bit more standoffish, a bit, not hostile, but maybe cold would be a better word to use. But I was trying to be nice, but alarm bells are going off now. Something is wrong. Something changed. Then I emailed him the document, and I got one more text from him saying received. That's one word, received. And again, so I thanked him. I thanked him for his time and for the trouble, and told him to have a great day. And he didn't respond to that. So this is the kind of cold brush off that I would expect from someone who has been corrupted by the perpetrators. So at that point, I started to worry, right? I started to worry, is it going to happen again? I'm anticipating now that the taxes are not going to get done, right? He would have to file an extension, obviously, because we didn't get it in time. But this now could be used as an excuse for him to not do the taxes at all. Because what they'll do is they will use any excuse they can to twist everything back onto you and blame you for whatever they do to you, right? Even though there was nothing I could do to get the documents, right, on time, they're still going to blame me for that. If he wants to just fuck this off and not do the taxes at all, they can blame me and say, well, you didn't get them there on time. It's your fault. Stop blaming me. When in reality, it's not my fault if he's not going to do them at all, right? It's his job to do the extension, to get them in later. But, and this is why I say we almost need, we need someone who can reason honestly, to reason past the bullshit so that they understand what is going on when the propaganda is continuously twisted against us. Did we really do something to deserve this? What did the other person do? Is it really the fault? Whose fault is it? We need someone who's going to reason honestly here. So now what he can do is he can keep the documents, not file her taxes at all, and blame me for it, even though he said he would do it late. But so what happened was, what's happening? So my mom has been bothering me about this because she wants to know what's going on. Does she need to sign something? Because every year, even if we do it electronically, she has to sign something. So I got him that final document a few weeks ago, but yesterday she just wouldn't stop stressing out about it. So I texted him and I asked him, I started out, apologizing for bothering him. I said I didn't want to bother him. But my mom wants to know, about the taxes. What does she have to do? Is she going to have to sign something this year, or is it just done automatically? I was trying to keep this as easygoing as possible so that it didn't seem like I was pushing him or rushing him or hurrying him. Because in a situation like this, you really have to back off and you have to be as mild-mannered as possible. But at the same time, if you don't contact them, then they'll say, well, it's your fault because you didn't contact them. So you have to walk a very fine line here. So I had to kiss ass. In the text I sent him, I really had to kiss ass, and I had to bite my tongue to do it because I already know what's happening. And they force you in that situation, and it's a situation where I don't want to be in. You practically have to suck their cock, and you have to bend over for them, and even then they're still not gonna. They're still gonna fuck with you, and they're gonna be cold about it and cruel about it anyway. And then twist it all back onto you anyway. Right. So yeah, I texted him yesterday about it, and he hasn't responded. Right? It's a day later, he hasn't responded, and I know how this is going to go. There is one mistake that I made though in this particular situation. This time I did bring him her physical documents, except for the final one that I emailed to him that we got late. But the first time not the first time, but when I dropped off the original set of documents that we actually had, something in my mind told me don't leave them with him. I should have gotten copies first. I shouldn't have left them with him. But the thing is, I trusted him. He was really nice last year, right? I trusted him. Not only was he efficient, but he was nice. Oops. What can I do? And maybe I just never learn. If someone is really nice, I'll trust them when I shouldn't. And when you're a targeted individual, you can't trust anybody, because either they were a perpetrator from the start, put there to cause you trouble, right? Or they become corrupted later. Somebody, the psychopaths whoever's running the sick program, they get to them and they corrupt them later. Or I don't know, but you can't trust anybody. So that's what's happening. But I just wanted to say one more thing. I know this video is getting long, but to the helpers out there, to those who aren't necessarily targeted individuals, but they want to help us. And I know I've got to believe that there are some of you out there. I think I would go insane if I didn't. And I know you're not always visible. You have to keep a low profile. I get it. I have to believe you're out there. Listen, folks. When it comes to communication with a targeted individual, please be consistent, okay? If you just shut off cold and stop responding and, you don't explain things, the target is not going to know what happened. First of all, did you get the communication, the email, the phone call, the text that he sent or she sent, right? Because the perpetrators they'll reroute emails, they'll interfere, right? I've sent emails and texts to people who said they never got them and vice versa. So first the target is going to wonder, did you even get the communication he or she sent, right? The next question is, have you been corrupted? Did one of these psychopaths get to you and now you're one of them? Or worse, were you one of them all along? He's not going to know, okay? So when it comes to us, please be consistent and reliable with communication, okay? Please don't be borderline, especially, don't just start acting, cold and hostile and not telling him or her why, right? Leaving him, to wonder what the hell he did wrong, okay? Leaving her to guess at what she did wrong. Just please don't, because targets are always accused of something, right? Falsely accused. So they're not going to know if that's happening again. And don't just shut off cold and stop communicating. You just, please, anyway, this video is getting too long. We're getting close to 20 minutes here. It was just an update. I'm tired. Don't know what I'm going to do about her taxes now. I should not have given him the original documents. I never learned, do I?